Wendy and Joe, thanks for coming in. I understand last week when I was out of town, there were some issues that came up at the admissions committee meeting. I've spoken to each of you independently, but I think we need to, as the three of us, need to have a conversation together about this. I think you both came away frustrated with the other. I'm upset because as department chair, I'd like to create a climate in the department where we work together, where we can resolve disagreements or have an openness to varied opinions. And I think I'm most upset because there were two students in the room with you, and we have a responsibility to model behavior. We try to conduct ourselves professionally, and in fact, for the students to walk out of that room, I don't think they necessarily were maybe looking as highly on our department as they could have. So I think you both talked to me independently, but if you can try to express your feelings or your frustrations or your concerns, not so much directed to the other person, but more how you came away feeling from the meeting, we'll see where we can get. Remember, we're not going to resolve how admissions will be done in the department in this conversation, because that has a whole other process, and that would have to go back to the admissions committee. So we still have those issues outstanding about how we will judge applicants. But let's start by talking about the event. You both had a little time to reflect. Do you want to start, Wendy?
Well, you mentioned about students, and my feeling was that it looked bad to the students that we were lowering academic standards, that the students were going away with the impression that we were going to lower standards in the department. And I was really concerned about that, and I was really frustrated that Joe didn't support my view, or what I thought was the department's view in that respect.
Now, you're talking about the decisions around how we admit students. I think reflect a little more on the behavior, because you sound like your goal was for the students to think highly of the department. Do you think they would have reflected on what they saw, and how would they have viewed the department?
I guess I felt like I was standing up for what I really believed in and what I thought the department believed in. And I was frustrated, and maybe it did go further than it should have, but I was really frustrated that Joe didn't support me on that. I felt like he kind of left me out there and not supported what I thought was the department line. But maybe we could have had a side conversation about that rather than in front of the students.
Well, you see, I came away from that meeting feeling as if I had been treated badly, as I've told you, but more than that, from the department's standpoint, I think it's very important that we are able to model behavior for students that shows that all ideas can be listened to, and I don't feel like I'm being listened to. And so it's very frustrating when I feel that some opinions are valued, but others are not paid attention to. And to me, it's very important that regardless of the opinion, at least it should have a chance to be aired. And I think that's part of what led to the confrontation that we had the other day. And it keeps happening, and I think that's a problem in terms of how the department is working.
One of the things I heard you say was that you really feel that your opinions aren't being valued, or that you maybe can't speak your point of view and feel confident that it will be respected.
Yes, that's it. Sometimes in department meetings, sometimes just in casual interactions. And I realize there are personalities, but when one continues to be in situations where it seems like there's a personal dislike on the part of the other person that is being somehow made to look as if it's an academic or a professional disagreement as opposed to just a personal dislike. And I think that's the feeling I have. And my feelings have been really upset in the last few days. But it's been happening for a long time, I think.
Wendy, do you?
Well, I mean, it's not about your feelings. It's about the issue. And I think sometimes Joe uses his personality because the students think he's a nice guy and that he's going to be on their side to make people who have those strong academic beliefs look overbearing. And I think that makes myself and some other colleagues in the department also look bad in front of the students. So while Joe looks like the guy who always says the right things that the students are going to agree with, we look like, we're the bad guys. We're the people that are going to make them work that much harder. And I wish Joe would, take a stronger stance or try and understand the department viewpoint a little more. I don't think it's about his feelings. I think it's about what the needs of the department are.
Now, it's interesting, because I hear you talk about the department viewpoint, but in fact, I think that what you are expressing is your personal viewpoint. Is that fair? Is that a fair correction?
Well, I think maybe it's both. I think that I guess I was under the impression that my viewpoint was the department's viewpoint.
Now, I'm a member of the department as well, and certainly my goal is to create a department where varying viewpoints have a place. If we all surround ourselves with people who have exactly the same point of view as we do, while it might feel comfortable, it probably won't get us where we need to be as a department. So rather than maybe fixate on the differences, embrace those differences a little bit.
I don't know how, given the last meeting that we're at, I'm not really sure, while embracing differences sounds like a nice thing to do, it's not going to make us very productive in terms of making decisions. At some point, we've got to come to either a middle ground, or one of us has got to, we've got to have a collective decision. And I'm not sure how that's going to happen when Joe is always trying to look good for the students.
Well, I know you don't want to, well, that isn't how I think I'm acting in front of students. I don't think that at all. I think I try to be fair, and I think I try to look at all sides.
I think what concerns me still, and I feel like you haven't addressed, is your behavior toward one another in that meeting, and what our students witnessed in terms of how we as a department work together. So I think we can park the admission issue, and I think we can get to some resolution there. And there's more research we can do in making that decision. And ultimately, that decision isn't ours anyway; it's our recommendation forward. But come back to what would it take to make our department and your relationships with one another productive. We spend lots of hours every day at work, and while we don't expect it to be trouble-free, I certainly would like each of you and everyone else in the department to feel when they get to the end of the day not to feel uncomfortable in their surroundings. It's a lot of hours every day here.
Well, I don't think this can be resolved without somebody else intervening in some way or giving us some tips as a group. I think maybe the whole department could use some facilitated work.
Well, that's a great suggestion. I mean, often you can set some ground rules. So what are our norms, or what are our expectations of one another in terms of how we'd like to work and how we'd like to accomplish things within the department? How does that seem to you, Wendy?
Well, I mean, I suppose if the department agrees in its entirety to do that, then I guess that I will, but I don't really think the workplace is a place to talk about my feelings or your feelings or anybody's feelings. We're here to work, and but you know, I can see that Joe is upset about the way things are and is maybe not happy in the work environment. I can see that. I have to say I don't feel that myself. I see the kinds of conversations I have with colleagues, including Joe. Maybe he sees it as confrontational. Perhaps that's just part of my training as an academic. That's what I've been taught to do. So perhaps maybe everything from his perspective coming from me seems like a confrontation, but I don't necessarily mean it to be. I just feel very strongly about my point of view.
I think we have lots of support within the institution to help us get where we need to be, so everyone in the department can feel comfortable leaving at the end of the day and feel good about the time they've spent. And you're right, people have different levels of tolerance for conflict and difficulty in their day, and some people take it on their shoulders and they wear it all day, and others walk away and it doesn't bother them as much. Well, maybe if we work on you know, part of what we might do in coming up with some expectations for the department is really think about the language we use in our feedback to one another, and without making it stilted and phony, just seeing if we can make some slight adjustments in how we interact with one another that will get us to a better place. And then whatever the students observe will be us expressing different opinions, but still being respectful toward one another, and that's a great lesson for them.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
The department chair has to address this issue with the faculty members involved. Having separate meetings first allows them to tell their story and vent at the same time. The purpose of getting together is to address their pattern of communication, move forward more constructively, and provide a clear message that the behavior was inappropriate. These conversations often get off track. The chair has the responsibility to keep them on target without dismissing other concerns, but ensuring they will be addressed in another venue. Asking smart questions, challenging assumptions, asking for specific examples, and exploring options are all appropriate strategies for the chair. The employee's effective use of I statements allows them to express how they are feeling and how they were impacted without judgment or blame. Seeking additional support may also be critical to success.